Welcome back to Fandor, folks. We're here continuing our weekly episodic breakdown of the Disney Star Wars Plus series, Andor. Tonight, our beat-for-beat review and deep dive tackles the 10th episode of the series with all the Easter eggs and the greater Star Wars lore connections you've known to come to know and love from us. As always, thank you for joining us. Wherever you may be, please like and share and leave a comment. Do not hesitate to join the conversation because, you know what? It's more fun with more people. And on to our weekly feature here, as we're joined by
my God,
and Hank.
Hey, we're here.
What's going on?
We've got our bad Star Wars joke.
Is it that time again?
I think so.
Is it time for bad Star Wars jokes?
Yeah, it is time.
Who is that voice actor? I know that voice.
Okay, so if R2 is short for R2-D2, Chewie is short for Chewbacca, and Annie is short for Anakin, then what is Luke short for?
I don't know. What is Luke short for?
A stormtrooper.
They're so awful. I mean, they're horrible. But
yeah,
you know what? It's exactly what we were going for, and man, I love it.
Yep.
Once again, this has been another installment of Bad Star Wars Jokes.
that might have been Vincent D'Onofrio.
Maybe. But he won't take credit for
The
it.
guy won't take credit for nothing.
Yep. So, do we want to do our opening thoughts first?
No, actually, you know what?
Do we want to dive into the...
Very rarely do we get an opportunity to go back and go, hey, let's revisit something we talked about before because we've got a new thing to offer.
Yeah, but some new evidence has come to light.
Well, I'm pretty excited about this one only because I never thought for the life of me that I would ever truly figure out what we were looking at. Remember, was it two episodes ago at the gallery, Luthen was putting out that new artifact, which clearly was some kind of fossil.
Yeah.
I did not realize because I'm no Indiana Jones, so I'm not an archaeologist. I had no idea that the fossils that he was putting out are actual fossils. They're real. And so earlier this week, actually,
yeah.
You're not going to believe this. I'm going out for lunch. Kim and I, my wife, we're going out for lunch. We go into our local fried chicken shack of all places, the fried chicken shack. Now, the lady that runs the chicken shack is also into like
gemstones,
gems and rocks. Well, Andy, you've been there. You've seen it.
Yeah.
And it's quite an interesting display. She's got the storefront because it's not an eat-in place. It is a strictly takeout place. So she's got a nice display case in the front, which has got all the rocks. I bought some rocks from her, actually.
Yeah, me too.
And I kid you not, sitting on the back counter was this fossil. And I go from mid-conversation to, and she's just like, oh, isn't that really nice? I'm like, I just saw this on TV. And I'm like, can I have a look at that? And she's like, sure. So she hands it over and hands me over the information card. It turns out that this item that we were looking at, all three of them are basically a prehistoric fossilized squid creature, the Orthocirrus. They look like a long flute-looking horned guys. They're a cephalopod.
Yeah.
Now, if we are going to parallel, now we did the metaphoric parallel, but at the same time, I had asked, what do we think this was? And I had thought maybe it was the creatures that tried to assassinate Padme.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that anymore.
No.
If we use the real world analogy that this is some kind of cephalopod, we are no further ahead or behind because canonically speaking, or I should say Star Wars speaking, there are no less than 28 species of cephalopod that are actually identified. So could this be prehistoric corn? Maybe.
An ancient relative of the calamari.
Hank, you had said
Mama core.
Mama Core, and I'm like, oh yeah, but then
Maybe
I'm
the
like,
Dianoga or the giant squid.
right? So there are so giant
And
squid does exist in Star
it
Wars.
does.
Yeah. So cephalopod of some figure. Oh, we got a couple comments coming in here. It's Adam from Go Figure. Hey, gentlemen, and a hello to you, sir.
Man,
Adam says, is it a baby Sarlacc?
Nice.
maybe.
That's not a bad guess.
Could be.
Anyway, I was so caught off guard at the sight of this thing that I completely kind of lost my mind, and I'm like, can I take some pictures of that? So there you go, folks. Some form of cephalopod, but in our real world, a 390 million year old fossilized Orthoceras.
Crazy.
From
So,
Cajun
yeah.
chicken of all places.
Yes. So if you're in the Bob Cajun, Ontario area and you're looking for some fried chicken,
And some precious stones.
yes, and some semi-precious stones, yeah.
She doesn't
Anytime
have
I've
any
eaten there.
Jedi Temple Guard helmets, does she?
Wow.
Maybe in the back.
Yeah, they're hiding in the back along with
I could
the
use one.
Star Killer armor.
Yeah. But on to tonight. Any opening thoughts on this episode, gentlemen?
Oh boy.
Holy cow.
So they did Kino dirty in this.
They really did.
But at the same time, I understand why, and it makes the have you heard the tale of Kino Loy? Makes it so tragic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to spoil the end, but yeah, like he's our first martyr, really. Like realistically.
Yeah.
More so than I guess so. I mean, there's a there's a face. I was going to say more so than Nemec.
And it's we're watching Cassian learn these lessons. Like you don't just choose to give up your life for a cause. I mean, I'm certain that it's in you or it isn't, but when you watch people do that for you, I mean, yeah, super tragic. Also, I read an article, and it'll come up organically, but I read an article with the writers were doing when they wrote that scene, and it's when we get there, we'll talk about it.
Cool.
I made it. Adam at Go Figure says, I'm now craving chicken.
It is good chicken there.
I made a joke earlier today. Somebody, of course, I like to follow the discourse sometimes as to what people are talking about week in and week out. And a lot of the discourse this week seemed to focus around Luthen and Luthen's appearance during the Coruscant underworld sequence. And once again, the rumblings of Sith, Darksider have come up, and certainly his speech kind of lends itself to Darksider. Do I think he's a Sith? No, but I did make a joke this week. I said, I bet him and General Pong Krell were good friends. Anybody who knows who Pong Krell is, I hope you find that as funny as I did.
Is it too on the nose to say it was Cloak and Dagger?
No,
Like literal cloak.
no,
Yeah, exactly.
Cloak and Lonnie.
Yes.
Got a first name this week. That was interesting.
Mm-hmm. So should we kick it off, I guess?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
So Andor, episode 10, titled One Way Out, originally aired November 9th, 2022. This is the third episode written by Beau Willimon, and in the director's chair for the sixth go-around is Toby Haynes. It's got a runtime of 35 minutes, 45 seconds without titles, or 45:26 all in. And we open right on the heels of last week's episode here, and we get our final look at Ulaf before they zip up the body bag to remove him. Followed by the guard, Ulaf's body is ushered out by Dr. Rashiv on a hovering stretcher droid in front of the night shift, who all stand on program. The descriptive audio, they call it a hovering stretcher, but the stretcher itself is fitted with a head unit that resembles Layla's pet droid Lola.
Oh, Lola, yeah.
So-
or the what's I gonna say? The no, I guess that was just a droid driven thing. That thing in the Mandalorian that the astromech droid was flying, but no. Not gonna lie, that opening shot really caught me off guard, and I may or may not have shed a tear.
Mm-hmm.
It really caught me off guard. I didn't realize I was that attached to the poor guy.
Yeah. Worked him right to death.
Yeah.
In the uniform room, Kino, he pulls on a fresh jumpsuit, and Cassian implores him that they need to go tomorrow. Still in shock, though, Kino asks, go where? But emphatically, Cassian tells him anywhere, and it has to be tomorrow. Following up that they'll never have a better chance, Kino tells him he sounds insane, but Cassian quick to point out that they don't have enough guards, and they know it. And right now, they're afraid. But Kino, he blasts back, afraid of what? And Cassian reasserts, they just killed 100 men to keep them quiet. And Kino asks, what would you call that? And Kino replies, power. But Cassian retorts, power doesn't panic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. that line.
Isn't that the? I mean, they could have. That could have very well been this week's episode title.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Easily.
Given the impact of that statement, and I'll say this: we talked last week about did we think that Kino, because when Cassian was having that chat with him, he's like, "Have you ever thought about getting out?" And we kind of did the round robin. Did we ever think that Kino had considered it? And even now in this week's episode, he's like, no, right up until Cassian tells him what the plan is. And then suddenly, oh.
Yeah. Well, I think in the moment when Olaf died was his switch.
I agree too.
Like,
I
right
totally
on the
agree.
bridge there.
Yeah.
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 But here, Cassian, he continues telling him, there's 5,000 men that are about to find out that they're never going to leave.
Yeah. And
do you think that worries them upstairs? And he speculates that whatever the Empire has them making is something they need.
Yeah.
So Cassian's math may be off a bit here, though, because normally there would be 4,900 men based on the info we've been given.
Oh, right.
But we just lost Olaf, and presumably we lost a further 100 men when they fried the prisoners on that level 2 catwalk.
Yeah.
So, they're down a couple hundred, but they're really still way outnumbered.
That ratio is still skewed heavily.
Yeah.
Heavily in favor of the inmates.
Yeah. Cassian tells Kino that they can't afford to be surprised again, and after tomorrow, the guard presence will likely increase. Just then, the alarm sounds, and Kino tells Cassian he can't know that, and he rushes to on program with a look of distress on his face.
Yeah.
But Cassian continues that every day we wait, the Empire grows stronger. But Kino tells him it'd be wise to have a plan, and he barks back at him, we do have a plan. But Kino rushes over, and he tries to drag Cassian to the door to assume the on-program position, and after they tussle, Cassian tells him the plan works when there's a new man coming down.
Yep.
And they'll be replacing Olaf tomorrow, and it might not happen again until it's too late.
Yeah, because how long is it going to take for the next guy to die?
Yeah.
Or the whole floor gets...
Yeah.
Right.
Well, they know who's on their team, right? And they know who's on the night shift.
That's true.
So assuming that, there's Olaf was the oldest one there, right?
Yeah, I mean, we know, without a doubt, that Olaf had more time in than anybody on that shift.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Cassian says his final piece, I'd rather die trying to take them down than die giving them what they want. And Cassian then assumes the on-program position at the door and tells Kino to do the same, which he does just as the door opens.
The look on Kino's face as he's just like, what just happened? As he's, contemplating sort of the notion of oh,
this might make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. As they enter the sleeping quarters, the voice of God tells them that they only have seconds to proceed to their cell, while all the inmates question what has happened. Cassian barks at Kino to tell them, but he remains silent and steps into his cell. Cassian then begins to relay what happened and what the doctor told them, stepping inside his cell just in the nick of time. He confirmed they far-eyed everybody on Bridge 2, but the reason why is what's important. They fried the 2 shifts to keep it quiet because an inmate was released and shuffled back in. But coming from Cassian, not everybody believes him. And struggling with this in his cell, Kino, he makes his choice and he cries out, no one is getting out.
Yeah.
Kino steps to the edge of his cell and then begins to tell them, the rumors are true. They're not letting anyone go. They're all going to die here or in the next place. And he tells them, get your heads back in your cells so we can figure it out. And Cassian and Melshi, they eye each other up before returning to their bunks before we jump over to Coruscant.
Something we didn't talk about last week was the notion that the mistake put the inmates into another building, take them to another labor facility on another planet.
Well,
That
they've
was
got
kind of the
7 of them
obvious
at least
one.
floating
Yeah.
there, don't they?
Yeah. But it does make more sense now in hindsight or looking at this again to say, oh, if multiple floors, which we do see in this episode, are building that cog
Same
thing, then other facilities in other places are building something else. Just take them to another facility, another world.
Yep.
Yeah.
As we jump to Coruscant, we find Dedra staring at some sort of star chart, and apparently Anto Krieger's men have taken the bait and they found the rebel ship. As Major Partagas enters the room, she relays that Kafrene rescue salvage towed it in, and they reported an unresponsive GPE 7000, and that the pilot appears to have frozen to death upon hydraulic failure on hyperspace reentry.
Yeah.
Now, I couldn't find a reference for the GPE 7000, but there is a GPE 7300, which is a freighter that had 2 oversized engines mounted on the bottom. It was designed by Galactic Power Engineering, and it was more of a long-range shuttle than a freighter. But similar to the Slave 1, the cockpit was mounted at 90 degrees, so it could allow those engines to be used as the primary thrusters for liftoff.
Oh, very cool.
First
Very
appeared in the 2006 comic Star Wars Legacy, issue 23.
Nice.
That's cool.
So
Very cool.
there is a line of them out there. Major Partagas, he suggests that now that the bait has been taken, they sit back and wait. But Supervisor Lonnie Young suggests that they don't. He states that this is something we would normally look into. And if Krieger is watching, the least suspicious thing they can do is to take an interest.
Just let it happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
Business as usual. Partagas agrees with him and states, that is what we will do.
What's funny in this segment is how bold he is, in the sense that it almost felt like he cut her off
A little bit.
Yeah.
Because she gives him like a dirty look across
Yeah.
the room. And as they finish up, she spins around and exits the room, leaving him just eyeing the screen.
So, yeah, I've watched this episode probably more than any of the other episodes. I've seen it quite a few times since it aired. Whenever I've just been watching it sort of on repeat. And based on that scene, there's a few things that are going on there. That's the first smart thing our man Lonnie's ever said.
Yeah.
He said a few things. He hasn't had many lines, but he's had a few lines throughout the show, and one of them blew our minds, right?
When he asked for more stuff at Scarif.
Yeah.
Or around in the system.
He was also one of the guys that was like, "Are you sure about the Star Path
Oh
unit?
my
Maybe
God,
that's where the money came." So
the Star Path unit that was on the table.
So here's my theory, and it doesn't bode well for Lonnie. She knows. She's shrewd as hell. She's probably Thrawn level shrewd. That look that she gives him when he says the first intelligent thing that she's ever heard him say in his career, she walks right out of the room because she knows that he's the mole.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I like that, by the way. I like that idea.
Good theory. But the Orbash on the screen in front of them, I got most of it. The top left there reads KRC, assumably a quadrant or something.
Okay.
The next one over is T9AND.
I think that's actually supposed to be the name of the system.
Okay.
Like Trang, I think, or Tran.
Hmm.
Another outlet had reported it as something else. I could be wrong.
But the third one, it spells out Rigna of Kafrene
instead of Ring.
Instead of Ring of Kafrene. So mistake on their part.
Way to go, art department.
Pretty close, though. Pretty close.
Nice.
We forgive you.
Yeah. We now jump over to Narkina 5, and the shift counter in Cassian's cell switches from 2156 to 2155. And as the lights come on, he's already awake. I don't think he was sleeping.
Oh, yeah.
Never slept. No.
Yeah. Kino, he steps to the edge of his cell and tells the men that there is only one way out, and they can play it how they want, but Kino is going to assume he's already dead and take it from there. There's no sense warning the night shift. They'll know about it soon enough.
Is that the first reference to this week's title? One Way Out?
I think so.
Yeah.
And
which becomes that
becomes
chant,
a chant. Yeah.
You also, they show Cassian not sleeping all night. Like you infer that from him being wide eyed and just waiting for the light to come on. But you get the same inference from Kino because he's been up all night and he's made his decision.
Yeah. He's come to his conclusion.
Yeah.
He tells them, make it look good, and the floor lights up safe, and they move on. They fall into line and move forward, and Kino and Cassian exchange glances. We get a flyby shot of the connecting bridges as the new announcement comes from the voice of God. All Skybridge transfers will be on program and silent until further notice. Any shift not in full compliance will be punished collectively. So they are ready to fry more levels.
That's building off of last week's Is Anybody Listening, where it seemed like every time that they started to like chant or sort of chat amongst themselves, there was that unprogram.
Yep. Out on the factory floor, the men carry on as they normally would, and the descriptive audio mentions that they're working to assemble a fresh spine.
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 Is that a potential clue?
Maybe
to the thingamajig, the whatchamacallit,
the who's it?
Yeah. The thing that they're building in this building and disassembling in the other buildings. I don't know.
Adat spines.
Maybe.
Hard to say. I don't know. It's still as big. Actually, you know what? There was an interview this week that it came out from Tony Gilroy that I had read. I don't know if it was Variety or the Hollywood Reporter. And he said, and it's kind of funny. He said, yeah, they're building season 2.
Nice.
That's the best way to do it. But Kino, he shoots a glance at Cassian, and continuing as his work, Cassian eyes a guard up on the supervision level before looking over to Melshi. And then we're starting to cut hard, but we cut over to Ferrex. And we find 3 individuals walking past the hotel, now guarded by stormtroopers. And as they near the home of Marva, a woman intercepts them, and she calls the bald man Dr. Mulmoy and relays that Marva needs her medication, but she's hiding it as it puts her off her food, and she'd rather keep eating. Across the street, we see Cinta watching from the shadows. And as she walks away, we find another local pointing out Marva's residence to Corv, one of Didra's ISB attendants disguised in street clothes. Now, this is the first time we've encountered Dr. Mulmoy.
Yep.
And he is played by Matt Dunkley. And even though this is only his first appearance on this screen in Andor,
okay,
he's also heavily invested because he's also the musical director for all 12 episodes.
Oh, come
crazy.
on.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
This is only his second acting credit, but he's got over 200 musical credits under his belt.
Oh, that's interesting.
Including being the composer for the 2002 series Rescue Me. He was the orchestrator for Iron Man, The Incredible Hulk, The Dark Knight, Kick-Ass, Clash of the Titans, and WandaVision.
Oh, so he's been around a little bit.
Yeah, he has done a ton of work. Another new face this episode, the woman leading the doctor, is credited as Jezzy. So
okay, so I take back everything I said about Jezzy potential. Well, you know what? That's not necessarily a fair statement either. Maybe Cassian likes older women.
Cassian is a womanizer, and
maybe he likes older women. But
Yep.
Jezzy, I made a point to say that Jezzy had asked about him, that she came back afterwards after everybody else left.
Yep.
Maybe she was looking for the booty call.
Maybe. But she is played by Ethiopian actress Pamela Nomvet, and she's been acting since 1988 with shows like Hard Copy, Coronation Street, and Gangs of London listed under her filmography.
So many British actors in this.
So many British.
Did you guys catch the number that Tony had said about the number of speaking parts in the series just in season 1?
I did not.
No.
It's like over 120 speaking parts.
Ooh.
He was doing some press work in the UK, and the guy who was interviewing him said, like, you really did, kind of thanked him for hiring like a record number of Brits. And he's like, oh yeah, we've got like 120, or it was well over 100 speaking parts just for season 1. Like, God, that's astronomical.
Yeah. We jump back over to Coruscant though, and we find Mon Mothma about to sit down with Ty Kolma and Davol Skulden. Davol relays that he's been here before, and when Tay asks if it's changed much, he says he can't tell because he didn't pay much attention, thinking he would be coming back regularly.
Yeah.
Mon tells him it's state property and the choices of decor are very limited. And Davol remarks, it is a bit old, and personally, he favors the new. One of the indulgences of great wealth is the freedom from opinions of others to decorate as you will. But Mon says, you've made your point. And Ty mentions she has many obligations and time must be managed.
What I find interesting here is, like, 24 Sussex, for those who are for the fans in Canada, 24 Sussex Drive, the Prime Minister's residence, has been the subject of public scrutiny for years and years and years because of the state of disrepair.
Yeah,
because they don't want to spend public funds
to fix up.
on the Prime Minister's residence. And I'm like, considering what the Empire is willing to spend on other projects, and they're not willing to put anything into the residences.
Yeah. Wow.
It's an interesting contrast.
It is. You figure, spending what he was on like hotel rooms and stuff, stay home and fix your house.
Mind you, if 24 Sussex looked like that, I mean, that would be fine.
Yes, it would. But going back here, Mon says he's made his point, and Ty mentions that she has many obligations that must be managed. And Davos says, I've heard you were direct, and I like it when things are clear. But he wonders what's around the corner. And Mon tells him that curiosity has clearly been profitable. And he retorts that I've met your husband several times. But she says that will not be a corner we're turning in this conversation.
So is that just a dangling plot thread for later?
Maybe.
So
there's that it's just the indication that, like, okay, her husband is swimming in slimy circles. He is that jerk that we hope that he is.
Okay, so maybe it is just that simple.
But it could also mean, like, if she does throw in with him, there's your potential leak.
But we've sort of thought that all along.
Yeah. But Davo continues about Chandrillan marriage and how the boundaries can be liberating. He also notes that old customs have value, even if they are confusing. And playing dumb, he asks if she's looking for a more fluid banking situation. But Ty, he says, we've already discussed this. And Davo says, I want to hear it from her. She bluntly replies, yes, they're exploring alternative financing arrangements for the foundation. And Davo, he phrases his position eloquently, telling Mon that he's reached a scale in his holdings that allows him a wide variety of transactions that can be bundled in ways that make outside observation impossible. He continues on, noting that people of Mon Mothma's stature sometimes feel that taking advantage of this leaves them feeling like their reputation is now somewhat tarnished. But the family wealth is hers, something to be proud of, and she should be able to move it where she likes with her privacy intact. Mm-hmm. He goes on, citing that the new Empire regulations are troublesome, but avoidable, and they've made a game of it, and we're ready to play. Mon cites that this is a charitable fund that they're establishing, but Davo already knows this. And she then plainly asks him, what will it cost? And he says, I want no fee. Money means very little to me at this point. But she insists, and he refuses outright again. But she says, I don't want to owe any favors, and I would be more comfortable paying you for this.
And I don't blame her for being that way either.
Yeah, like you don't want to be indebted to the underworld. But Davo, he says, a drop of discomfort might be the price of doing business, as he reaches for his drink. And a little impatiently, she says, well, then let's have it. And he says, I would like a return invitation, at least once. And Mon says, that can be arranged. But then he adds to it, noting, I have a 14-year-old son, and I'd like to bring him too. And she stiffens up at this, saying, you can't be serious. But he says, I'm not asking for betrothal, just an introduction, citing that her daughter will soon be of age. And they're just two attractive and privileged young Chandrillan citizens. And
Mon, I was going to say, I thought they were from Westeros.
But Mon asks, what makes Davo think she approves of this tradition? And he says, sometimes their position makes their decisions for them. And neither of them have lived a life that encourages nonconformity. But Mon asks if this is his only offer, which he replies, I'm afraid so. She snap replies and says, we're done. Ty, we'll see you out. And as he stands up, he notes that it's a lot to think about. But again, snapping, she counters, I'm not thinking about it. And Davo, he looks at her and says, that's the first untrue thing you've said. Mm-hmm. Then he thanks her and takes her leave. And as the two men leave, like, there is a terrified rage on her face.
Yeah.
She does a real good job at conveying emotion without saying anything.
Yeah.
I think there's more to that scene than meets the eye in terms of like he literally, he's making a point of being a truth teller there, right? Even though he's slimy.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
This is not a betrothal. But she says something about not wanting to adhere to that custom. But I don't think she's talking about the custom of
Arranged
betrothal.
marriage.
Right? I don't think that's it at all. I think what literally the price of this is really dark theory, but the price of doing business with that guy Davos Skulden is her daughter's virginity.
Ugh.
That's why she's so shook there. That's why she's.
That's a real
he
creepy
said-
thought.
honestly, he says this is not a betrothal,
No,
and she
guess
says
not,
I
yeah.
don't agree with that tradition. It's like the tradition she's speaking about is unspoken there.
Oh,
Because the secondary thing would be like,
That's all
if,
she could say is no betrothal.
Sure.
She's
Yeah.
because I mean, let's wed our children. I mean, it might creep you out that that's the guy that wants to do that, but the amount of shook to the core she is, it's way heavier than a marriage proposal, in my opinion.
So maybe it's just me. I thought it was super. I just took it for what I thought it was superficially, and that, while she's still, because she makes a point of talking about her arranged marriage, and she says, "What makes you think I chose that? Or what makes you think that I wanted that?" Or
No,
something to that effect,
certainly,
right?
and certainly that could have been a source of the horror in her life as well,
Yeah,
internally.
yeah.
It just seems like he makes a point of saying this is not a betrothal, and then she's still horrified, but by whatever implication, them two attractive young Chandrillans being introduced.
It does beg the question, though, like if she wasn't for it, and the reason that she stuck with it is because of her political career, like what kind of married life has she had, and is that contributing to the relationship or the non-relationship she has with her daughter?
She maybe have been undercover for a long time.
Yeah.
On the flip side, though, it could be like because she knows her daughter will do what her daughter will do in the rebellious fashion. If she should introduce this guy to him, she might just,
Lita's like, I'm not doing this.
Here's my option. I'm taking it. See ya.
Oh, you think she will to get out?
Maybe it just.
I never even thought about that.
Mother.
I never even thought about that.
It's like, you don't approve of me marrying this guy? Well, guess what?
Oh, right. As a way of that fits in line with like, father lets me do whatever I want.
Yeah.
They're both pretty dark.
Yeah. Yes.
Yes. But Davos Skulden, he is played by 58-year-old British actor Richard Delane. He's been acting since 1995 with roles in such projects as The Dark Knight, where he played the acting commissioner. The miniseries West of Liberty, where he played Ron Harriman, and Pennyworth, where he played Patrick Wayne.
Played a Wayne. Oh, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Elsewhere, we find Clea. She's entering the antique shop through its revolving door, and she finds Luthen tinkering with one of the display items, and it looks like it's a two-headed snake of some sort.
Yep.
But the head looks like it could clearly be a Rancor head.
Well,
cool. I would totally say that's a Rancor head.
Yeah.
Big time.
She tells him that there was a mark on the fountain, but Luthen counters that could be anything, and she agrees. But she went to the stairs, and the rail was gone with a clean, fresh break.
We get a much better look at that
the headdress.
The headdress.
As well,
and I'm kind of second guessing what I'd said.
You don't
that
think
it's not. I'm kind of wondering if maybe it is, because in this episode it looks a lot closer to the one that Padme was wearing.
Yeah. But
it really does.
Clea goes on saying, he wants a face-to-face meeting, and Luthen sighs and says, "Well, there goes today." And they both head back, and Clea states she doesn't like it. The timing is wrong.
Foreshadowing.
But she suggests she go and Luthen get off planet. But he's surprised this contact has waited this long.
Yep.
And she says, well, what if it's a trap? But as Luthen exits the room, he says, if it's a trap, they've already lost. So he's far down the rabbit hole. He's willing to accept it.
Well, that's an interesting thought now, because Hank, you had said that, that Dedra's probably already onto him. And is this next sequence because Lonnie knows that Dedra knows, therefore I need out.
Well, maybe.
Well, yeah, he's got to be
'Cause-
feeling, the pressure of, especially, he's got to know that he's now implicit in the Aldani heist, whether he likes it or not. I mean, he sat there. I mean, he just, so he's seeing the fruits of his rebellion. I know we're talking out of class here yet. Spoiler alert, guys. But he's seeing the fruits of his rebellion,
Sure.
and they're scaring him to his bones, right? Like that's why he's asking to get out. I think.
Yeah. But back on Narkina 5, Taga, he's visibly shaken with the knowledge of what's about to happen, repeating over and over, I'm dead, I'm dead, I'm dead. But Cassian leans in and tells him, don't die until you put up a fight. And with that, Cassian moves across the floor and heads towards the lavatory. Kino passes him going the other way and states, one way out. And another inmate slips him a ratchet as he walks by. Burnock, he takes notice of and exchanging nods with some others. He leaves his position to wait his turn for the restroom. Kino, he's visibly distressed, but continues to bark orders as usual. And meanwhile, Cassian, he pops the wall open and begins to furiously saw a hole in that standpipe. Up in the guard box, one guard straps on a pair of those insulated boots as the other one instructs the new inmate to remain on program, eyes front, feet down. And back down with Cassian, he's continuing to saw, and hearing Kino yell to keep it moving, he grabs a ratchet and then tries to buckle the pipe. Then we cut back up to the guard box, and the delivery guard, he's threatening the new guy with the zap rod, and the console guard mentioned there's a check on 3, and we're already behind. But 2 more guards are cleared to go check, and the delivery guard moves into position. Back on the factory floor, Taga, he's still panicking, and Ham tells him, calm down. And when he requests, he's like, how? Zal, from across the table, says, I thought you were dead already.
Oh, that's real helpful.
Yeah, pull it together.
That's real helpful coming from the, one of the most serial killer looking dudes on the floor.
Right.
Yeah. But back in the lavatory, Cassian, he leans on that ratchet, and the pipe, it begins to move and breaks at its weakened spot. And back up in the guard box, the console guard, he's like, how's it looking down there? And the one guard moves to the window and says, it looks good. And taking note of this, Zal and Melshi start distributing parts to their teammates, and the rest of the tables begin doing so as well. In the lavatory, Cassian gets the broken pipe to start leaking water, and he saws again, creating a second hole, and then returns to the ratchet to pry it even more. And as he does so, the alarm sounds that the new mate is about to be transferred in. And the console guard, he pulls that lever, opens the doors to the lift, and with one last pull, he wrenches the pipe loose and water starts spraying out onto the floor.
Never once did I think that the working that pipe was an effort to short out the floor. All I could think of was, oh my God, water is going to make it worse when it goes off, which on some level is true, at least for one person anyway.
Mm-hmm. But the inmates, they assume the on position or the on program position, some concealing their tools or other parts. And as the box guards enter the catwalk with the new prisoner, Cassian takes 2 more strikes at the pipe before rushing back to the floor to assume the position. But now he's soaked from all the spraying water. He trades glances with a nervous Kino and Burnock, who's under the opposite side of the catwalk. And the guards scan the room, unaware that water has started to flood the whole thing.
Never mind that there's a sopping wet inmate.
Yeah,
but they don't even notice.
He's
that guy's working hard.
Yeah,
yeah, but they can't see him, right? Because Cassian is under.
Oh, that's true. He's underneath the catwalk. Yeah, that's right.
Burnock is under the other guy.
That's right.
Yeah, but Cassian sees the lifting gauge and begin at descent, and he brings out the ratchet that he had hiding with him. Gives a nod to Ham and Zal, who proceed to stage an argument, and the other members of Table 5 to move to break it up. But the guard shouts to restore order, and as he's doing that, Cassian jams the ratchet in the lift track to keep it from moving any further. Burnock, he leaps onto the lift, and seeing what's happened, the lift guard shocks the new inmate, but Burnock's weight causes the lift to fall slightly on one side. Seizing this opportunity, the new inmate grabs the zap rod and begins to give it to the lift guard, only to be shot down for his troubles.
I gotta tell you, new guy, because I don't even know if we ever get to who he is, but new guy, my hat to you, sir. You were a motivated individual. He wasted no time.
Yeah.
He's like, shit's going down, I'm in.
Yep.
I love that.
Totally. Yeah. That's what Lauren said. One thing about this scene, basically, a lot of real prisoners are here too.
Mm-hmm.
Like people
It's
that
not just,
don't necessarily deserve to be free.
Yeah, that's true. That's so true.
Yeah, because you figure people within the last, say, 40 days are the ones probably with the heavier false sentences.
I gotta wonder that what the stuff that they sentenced Cassian for. She said it previously it was a 4-month or a 6-month sentence. 6 months, like you wouldn't have been sent to a huge facility like this.
No.
You think of our own criminal justice system and like minor crimes, they just kind of do, like you've heard it before, guys, people that do time on weekends.
Yeah.
That's the type of crime you would see. But conversely, then there's your murderers and all of your.
Yeah. I also have questions about chain codes because he's in prison based on someone else's ID and no one ever questions that. Is he operating under a stolen chain code? Or a hot chain code? I mean, because he never breaks cover, essentially. He never,
no, he doesn't.
An easy way to get out of it is, hey, I'm not that guy. Maybe.
Well, that goes hand in hand with that, like how passe is the Empire that they're just processing these people. Like, what's your name? Keith Gerga. Okay, Keith Gerga, you're in. Like,
what's your name? Han Solo. Okay, you're a pilot.
Yeah. So true.
But back to here. An inmate tosses Kino a wrench and he cries out attack as he hurls it at the guard on the left, striking him. The other inmates join in, launching a barrage of parts and tools at the two guards. And again, Burnock climbs up, but this time he's shot down and lands back on the floor. The guards continue to fire at the inmates, keeping their focus off Cassian, who has now climbed up under the catwalk. And the left guard calls to spark the floor. And hearing this, Kino cries out, everyone get on the tables.
Get on the tables.
Tables.
Get on the tables.
We had thought maybe that they were connected, but apparently they're insulated enough.
I guess so, yeah.
Yeah. The console guard, he flips the switch and hits that red button, and it erupts with a fountain of sparks. One unlucky inmate gets caught in a puddle and takes the full jolt before the lights go dark. And Kino, standing on a dry section, is left unharmed.
That was an interesting thought. So now the question is, did the whole floor go off? Or, I've read some other things that suggested that one inmate, was he standing in the box? Remember the box where like table 1, get in the box?
Maybe.
And that's where he got the.
Could be. But the way I understood it was they were sparking the whole floor to try and shut them all down at once.
Yeah.
But with ever.
Well, I would have thought though.
Yeah.
Too, yeah.
But anyway, the console guard, he frantically tries to activate the floor again, but the console's gone dark. And Kino, he stares at his feet a moment before yelling again, attack. And all the inmates rush forward. Up in the guard box, the console guard, he's radioing for help as blaster fire is heard outside the door. And the two guards on the catwalk, they continue to pepper the inmates. Zal steps out to hurl a ratchet at the left guard, but he's shot by the one on the right. And his other table mates then rush the lift. And with their focus squarely on the inmates on the floor, Cassian takes this opportunity to climb up and kick the leg out from the left guard.
All I thought about in this, I'm thinking from the Imperial perspective, it's like, it's a turkey shoot. And if only that guy had just taken a few steps and even tried, like he probably could have jumped back behind the door.
Yeah.
They probably would have contained them.
Probably.
Wasn't meant to be.
No. Panicking, they weren't thinking clearly.
No, they were not.
No.
Highly motivated prisoners.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah. But Cassian, he lands a punch on this guard and then using his own blaster, shoots the other guy. And with both guards down, they begin to climb. Seeing the left guard trying to get up, Cassian shoots him and he falls back down. And no sooner has the console guard seen what's coming at him, but Cassian shoots him dead as well.
Yeah, Cassian kills 4 out of 12.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first four. In
Cass.
fact, we know who means business here.
Yep. A winded Kino follows Cassian into the guard box, and the rest they continue to climb out. Below, the water keeps flooding through, and in the water, or in the level below, we start seeing water droplets on the spine of one of the tables down there, and it causes all those guys to like stop and look up. And back up on level 5, Kino, he's handing out weapons to the other inmates. Two guards come down the stairwell, and Cassian blows them away as well.
Speaking of weapons, is this the first time we've seen the DL-15 with a clip like the E11, the side clip? You know, that extended.
That's a good
I
question.
don't know.
That's a good
recall.
question. I
'Cause
don't
clearly
recall it
that's
either, but
that's the 15, but
yeah,
it's got that little, you know, extra side thing that the E11 has.
I mean, they're both based on the Sterling, so I mean, it's got
Yeah.
the same kind of base hardware, so possibly.
Could
Maybe.
be the standard
also-
Imperial version of this, because we typically see it with officers or with rebel,
rebel troops. Yeah. Interestingly enough, when they're back in the guard room, in the control room there, and I mean, we spent a bit of time there when Cassian came in, and how he was so fixated on the boots.
Mhm.
Nobody thinks to put on a pair of boots.
I thought that too. I thought everybody's
Nobody
running by
puts
the
on
boots.
the boots.
But perhaps they
Interesting.
figured the plan is to get them to shut the whole show off anyway.
I guess so.
Yeah.
Can't swim in those boots.
No. Where are we here? There we are. Kino's handing out weapons, and two guards come down. Cassian shoots them. He calls for Kino, but Kino says, I should hold the level. And Cassian, he tells them somebody else can do that. And they need to blast the panel and keep the doors open. And with that, they begin to move their way upwards.
Yep.
Elsewhere, another console guard is trying to figure out what's going on. And the main guards are telling him it's a water break. But the console relays that there's service warnings on every panel. And the main guard, he tells him, go check it out. And he barks at two guards to go do so. And we cut really fast back and forth now. And back below, Melshi is leading a group of armed inmates down a corridor, and Ham leads the second group in the opposite direction. Meanwhile, a guard passes out weapons to a handful of guards, and on another factory floor, flashes of blaster fire illuminate the observation window. And with a shower of sparks, the intake door flies open.
It's amazing though how much they just kind of like you can imagine them kind of standing there like mouth agape, like,
Yeah.
Like they're just fixated, and nobody reacts to the fact that that dude just flipped over the railing.
Yeah. Yeah. Box guard, he fires, and he's shot by who we find out is Ham as he dashes in the room, and he cries out, "One way out," and implores them to come on and join the fight.
Yeah.
Stunned, the men don't move, but Ham moves to the control panel and activates the lift. And the men below, they cheer and rush forward as it descends. And then we'll catch up with Cassian and Kino climbing through a central stairwell and checking above and below as they go. It looks to be like there's like at least a dozen more stories till they reach the top.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like the scene out of Ghostbusters.
Yeah.
How many more floors?
Yeah.
We're on 21.
Hulk hates stairs.
Melshi's group encounters a guard, and blaster fire is exchanged. And in doing so, the observation window is shot out of this particular room. And Melshi, he eliminates the guard and calls through the window, "We're leaving, join us," and moves to the console, opens the doors, and calls for the men to climb up and arm themselves with whatever they can. Just then, three guards attempt to ambush them, but they're shot from behind by Ham's team. Now, as one group, the men move through a section and go up a illuminated flight of stairs. And then we cut up further, and having just arrived at the top level, Cassian and Kino continue on as the voice of God is now calling out an emergency announcement. Complete program protocol will activate in 40 seconds, and any deviation or failure to comply will mean unit-wide activation. So we cut into the room, and we see that the voice of God is just the supervisor dude using a voice modulator. And he tells the other supervisors to start the countdown.
This moment was so Wizard of Oz. When it opened up, and look at that guy. He is so mild-mannered looking.
Yeah. No offense to the actor, but he's super weenie looking compared to the ominous.
So this is another one. This is another guy. He's another production. He's a PA, I think, a Lucasfilm PA.
Oh, geez.
Nice.
I don't think he's an actor.
Huh.
I didn't catch his name this week too, but
I
I
did not.
saw it somewhere that he's a. I'm pretty sure he's a production assistant.
I couldn't
That's
hammer
pretty cool.
down his name in the credits.
Oh, that's okay. That's all right.
But he goes on to tell the other supervisors to burn the entire 5th level. But the door slides open and Kino steps in, telling him it's too late. There's no one there. And he tells Kino, you shouldn't be here. But Kino barks at the supervisor to turn it off. And he's playing dumb. He says, that could mean so many things. But Kino isn't playing and shoots the supervisor on the right.
That's what I would have done.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not messing around.
Mhm.
Cassian enters the room as well, and they tell him, turn the floors off. And the second supervisor says he'll do it. First one agrees, but as he starts flipping switches, Cassian tells him, no, cut the power.
Yep.
And still stalling for time, he tells Cassian, it's all hydro. If we turn it off, it'll take months to get back up.
So those
for the win.
those intakes, hydroelectric power. Wow.
Yep.
I mean, it was a pure guess, but
Yeah, it was a good one.
that's the number.
But at the same time, they got to eliminate those whirlpools. Otherwise,
Well, I mean, with those gates closed, the whirlpools, they're going to.
they eliminate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Which does
See what
play
else
into
is
what
happening
you
here.
had said. Yeah.
Yep.
In the background, we see it like really big in a minute, but in the background on the that image where Kino's got the blaster on the guy with the controller, you could see the little
those
yellow
little yellow
dots on the
dots.
screen.
People moving.
So they were
So they're
monitoring
being-
every inmate.
Yeah, like tracking devices on them
Yeah.
or something, or
Yeah.
some sort of tracking.
Yeah.
Okay, so that brings up a good point. Can we just use that as a contrasting moment just for a second?
Yeah.
If they can track each man down to the square meter,
Right.
How are they not listening?
well, not so right. And I mean, is this not? We've glossed over it before, but I just want to make sure we're hitting the nail on the head here. Of all the precautions that Mon Mothma and Luthen have been taken, the complete and total disregard that she has in her own apartment, which, by the way, is the embassy apartment. Like, that's the secured. You think you're secure and safe in there?
No.
Ugh.
Gotta be monitored.
Yeah. Yeah.
I really feel like that's going to come back to bite her.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, that was a bit of a segue.
Yeah, it's a good one though. Cassian, he presses the blaster to his head and immediately tells him, I don't have the panel. It's at the other guy, motioning to his boss. And Kino, he orders that prison announcer back to his panel, and he reluctantly begins activating switches to shut down the whole thing. The main power cuts out and the room goes dark. And outside, we see large gates closing down, cutting off the water flow from outside. All throughout the facility, the lights go dark and everyone takes notice. And back in the control room, lights come back on and they say it's the backup power. Cassian then orders the two men away from their panels and puts them in the corner where he barks at them on position, on program, which is kind of funny because the second guy does it like immediately, but the voice of God guy kind of
Like he just doesn't know what to do.
yeah.
Like, are you serious?
Yeah. You know he is.
Have you not caught on yet, wizard?
Yo. Fun note here, though, the microphone setup on the control panel seems to be an earlier model of the same one we find in the detention block on the Death Star in A New Hope.
Also, the control stations themselves, that
Very
circular,
reminiscent,
yeah.
The hub formation.
Starting to see that sort of. Well, I mean, we saw a little bit of it in the prequels as well, but cool to see that same
repeating pattern,
that common design aesthetic.
Yeah. Kino steps behind the control panel, but he freezes up, and Cassian calmly tells him, tell them what to do. It has to be you. And finally, he pushes the button and begins to speak. And he tells them, my name is Kino Loy, the day manager from level 5. And at this moment, we are in control of the facility.
We have assumed control.
He pauses and mockingly Cassian says, is that the best you got? But Kino, he continues to tell him, how long this will go, how far we get is now up to them. All the floors are cold. And inmate Zinska, he steps out of his cell as the other inmates watch. And of course, he doesn't get fried.
Well, it's interesting that, Zinska, another manager. So, I mean, he's really set sort of the tone for it.
Yeah. Like the managers are in a place of respect, right?
Another thing about Zinska, this is kind of going back a little bit. Was anybody kind of caught off guard when Kino said, don't bother, they're going to find out eventually. Like he was ready to sacrifice the other shift.
Yeah.
Right.
And here they are about to get in the fight. So
Yep.
go Zinska.
He implores them wherever they are, get up, stop the work, get out of your cells and take charge and start climbing. They don't have enough guards and they know it. And we flash across multiple inmates beginning to mobilize and the guards with terror in their faces. Back with Kino, though, he continues to tell them that if they wait for the guards to figure this out, it'll be too late and there will never be a better chance than now. And he would rather die trying than die giving them what they want. So again, that phrase.
I was going to say, where have we heard that before?
Yeah. Cassian tells to him.
But there you go. That tells you. I mean, to me, I interpret that he's not just parroting the words.
No,
that
he's
the message
taking it to
is,
heart.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it hit him. Yeah, absolutely.
And now he hits the rest of the inmates with the rest of it. They know they fried 100 men to silence them. They know they're making up the sentences as they go. And they know nobody outside this facility knows what's going on. And now they know when they say they're being released, they're actually being transferred to some other prison to die.
And
And
there
that
it is. Eh?
ends today. There is one way out. Right now, the building is theirs.
That's an interesting thought too. So you serve your time. Do they just take you out back and?
Oh no! As long as you can still work, they transfer you to somewhere else
Would
until
there-
you can't work anymore.
So would there be? So, but let's really analyze that just for a second. So the mistake of putting the guy back into the same building, they take that guy, they move him to another building. Hey, they just brought me over from the same look. I was just in a building that looked exactly like this. I was supposed to be set free.
Yeah.
So there's still a problem.
Yeah. It's not like he's not going to talk whenever whoever gets where they're going.
And I know we just said take them to another facility on another planet, but he gets to that place. I was supposed to be set free. And now I'm
Mhm.
here. So that creates a problem there. So maybe they are. You finish your shift and then
You're done.
you're executed.
Yeah,
Maybe.
you're released.
Maybe. Literally
Mhm.
No.
literally from the mortal coil.
Yeah.
Interesting thought.
Cassian, he checks the hall, but Melchi's team has arrived. And Kino continues telling them, run, move. If you see someone confused, get them moving until this place is behind us. There's 5,000 of us, and if we fight half as hard as we work, we'll be home in no time.
I did like
Mhm.
that sentiment. If we
Yeah.
fight half as hard as we work.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
they push forward to get that flavor, right?
Yeah.
Below, Dr. Receive paused as hordes of inmates push past. And in the control room, Cassian and Kino exit, leaving the two prison monitors behind.
Mhm.
I felt that was kind of weird, though. Like, considering they are in the control room, that could be a dangerous thing to them. Because, like, they
Yeah.
could still probably radio the next guys over
Oh yeah.
or start mobilizing some sort of response to it. But they eye the monitor, and it shows all the inmates converging on the core as the inmates chant one way out as they rush onward. We do see a couple inmates rushing across the sky bridge, some tripping and some getting trampled.
They showed that as part of the there was a sneak peek that was on the official Star Wars YouTube channel that included
Mhm.
that sequence of them rushing across the bridge, and I'm like, there's gonna be a riot.
In another spot, an inmate peers through a window where we find a group of guards and the intake supervisor huddled in fear. And as the inmates rush forward to the intake platform, they stop short a moment, looking over the edge. Ham, he cries out, one way out, and leaps off into the water. Cassian looks back and looks to Melchi and tells him, whatever happens now, we made it.
Yeah.
And looking over, Kino, he's shying away from the edge. And when Cassian asks him, what's wrong? He replies, I can't swim. But before they can say anything, Cassian is swept over the edge in the rush of escaping prison. And as the inmates continue to leap down for freedom, Kino stays behind looking down, and we get an aerial view of the inmates swimming to the shores and a view further from that showing this complex in the middle of the water. And like you had mentioned, Wes.
Oh my God. The analogy, the fishing analogy that Dedra had made
Yes.
in the last episode. And as you're looking at, you saw it on the display console, and now here we are looking down on it. You've seen those fishing nets that they throw out.
Yeah.
And now here they are, all the fish
Are getting
escaping
away.
the net.
Yeah.
It's such a cool visual. I love this visual.
Yeah, it's it kind of reminded me, and I know I'm not trying to get weird, but they look like sperm, like the birth of the rebellion happening right there,
Literal
literally.
birth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
maybe.
The birth of the rebellion. So this is the scene I was talking about earlier. In the interview, it was the director and the writer of the episode that were being interviewed.
Okay. Yeah.
And they said, "Who came up with the idea that Kino Loy couldn't swim? I want a piece of them right now," basically. And
Oh,
they
that's
said,
funny.
"Actually, we don't know who it was. Somebody yelled it out in the room, well, in the writer's room. They were just like, because what they said was there was a few things that Gilroy had completely given them a Bible for, like,
Oh, yeah.
this scene is going to go exactly like this. You just rewrite it the way I wrote it." And then there was stuff that was so loose that we just knew that there had to be a prison. He just said, "There's a prison scene with an escape, make it cool." That's all they had to go on. So they really created this 100% on their own, and
it's
the
well
character
done.
of Kino Loy, right?
Mhm.
But they said when the person in the room, who they didn't give credit to necessarily, just said he can't swim, they knew it was the right decision, because while it felt like a gut punch, right, literally,
Which it
to us as
does.
the viewer,
It sure
they said
does.
it felt like a gut punch sitting in the room. And they said that's so rare when you're sitting in the room and you come up with an idea that strikes you
everybody.
that you go, "Oh,
Yeah.
wow, that that's the moment that stays, that's killer." And man, so tragic. And
Yeah.
and you go back and you watch it again, and I know you haven't seen it again, Wes, but go back and watch it again, and he knows the whole time
Oh, sure.
that he
And
can't
he
get
doesn't tell anybody.
and he's still like, "I'm gonna hold the bridge, or I'm gonna hold this floor." "No, you got to keep coming with us," and
Yeah, I mean,
then
because presumably he probably looked out the window much like Cassian did on his way in and knew that
Yeah,
surrounded
right.
by water.
They all flew in.
Yeah.
Exactly. Now, and Lauren had pointed out, and I agreed, two guys couldn't help him out.
I
Two
said
guys
that. So
Yeah,
while
like,
he
come
did the
on,
backstroke.
jump in. You're coming with us.
Andy and I
Right?
were in the car yesterday, and I'm like, I'm telling you right now, if it was me, I can't swim. I'd have grabbed him.
You're
You're
going
going
in
I
anyway.
would.
Yeah.
I really would have thrown him over and
So
then found him.
there's a
Yeah.
part of me, and I know in my heart of hearts that we're probably never going to see this character again.
No,
But
that's
there's
the
a
point.
part of me that would like to believe that, of the 5,000 inmates, a couple of dudes had the same sentiment and went, "Oh, we'll drag you along with us,"
Yeah.
Well,
and that
you
he
see that
somehow got out.
see that image in the bottom there, middle of the all our little
Yes,
fish escaping. You
of
watch that on a
the swimmers,
65-inch
Yeah.
TV,
the
and there's
little
one guy
swimmers.
standing on the bridge still.
Oh,
Yeah, that when I saw that, I went, "Are you serious?" Oh, he
oh.
is standing there, and I went, "Oh man!" And there, that's why I say that's the first martyr of the rebellion right there.
So now I'm going to go back and just address some of the discourse and some of the other conversations that have come up around this character, and I'm just going to squash it right now. That just because Kino Loy stayed, even if they did recapture him, no, he is not Snoke.
No,
End of story.
even though he sounded like him when he was using God's voice.
He did. Yes, he did. When he was using the Wizard of Oz's machine.
Mhm.
Maybe that's what the Empire
behind
did.
the
We,
curtain.
remember that guy, that recording? We have a recording of some guy's voice. Let's make that Snoke's
Yeah.
voice when we create him.
Yeah.
Technically, it already is.
Kino Snoke.
Yeah.
He's not King Kong either, kids.
No, but he is Caesar. Moving forward, though, we find Supervisor Lonnie Young moving through the underworld of Coruscant into a crowded alley market, and we see a couple of varieties of possibly new alien beings as he passes by them. He moves off through a dark access tunnel and passes a couple more aliens before exiting the tunnel and hitting a call button for the elevator. I couldn't find any visual references for these guys.
You'd reached out and asked me, and I'm like, the best I can come up with is that horned looking dude looks, in the ever slightest way,
Yeah.
kind of Deveronian, but like
Yeah.
not likely.
Yeah.
Like
I
mixed with
tried
another one.
a couple different avenues. I even tried Google images like
Other dude looks
picture
kind of
search.
Hellraiser like. I don't know what he looks
They
like.
likened
Yeah.
him to a
He looks
Quarren.
like
Oh,
but
yeah.
he looks
he's,
like a
he's
Pow.
missing. Yeah.
Commander Pow from Rogue One, the little weird short alien. He wears a helmet though, but he doesn't have those chin flares.
Oh, I
but he
know what you're saying.
has a
Yeah,
similar eye structure and kind of the
Yeah.
weird teethy mouth.
I get the feeling that, especially with the modern Star Wars television that we're seeing, a lot of this stuff, a lot of the aliens are pulled from like Canto Bight and Maz's castle, so stuff that we didn't get a
Sure.
great look at before.
Maybe are showing up now.
Yeah. If you guys know, can identify these two weird looking species.
Three weird looking species.
Three, yeah. Let us know.
Yeah, third guy in the
because
corridor.
we are genuinely stumped on these ones.
Yeah. But as he enters the elevator, the door closes and he enters a sequence on the control panel and reaches up into the overhang where he finds a comm unit hiding. He wipes it down quickly before putting it in his ear and activating it. We hear Luthen's voice instruct him to hit 215 if it's a trap. Young doesn't move, and Luthen assures him we'll have privacy as the elevator begins rushing upward.
215.
Yeah.
So it's an elevator, and it's going down. That's how far down they're going.
Way far down, right?
How have we been that far down on Coruscant?
No.
Well, I guess we have technically. I mean,
13, 16, I think is
13 or 13,
yeah,
14, where we meet Rafa.
We were one above 13 in the Ahsoka episodes.
of
final season of Clone Wars. I don't think we've been down this low
in live action. I don't think we've ever.
No.
We've always been sort of 0 or higher.
Yeah,
right.
But Luthen, he congratulates Young, and when he says, "On what?" he replies, "Your daughter, healthy, beautiful. You must be pleased." And Young asks, "Is that meant to scare me?" And Luthen replies, "It's been a year since we've been able to catch up. You becoming a father, is that not worth mentioning?" But he says, "That's not fair. And if, it's not fair that and you're watching." And he asks Luthen, "Did you ever consider how it would feel from this side?" But he tells him, "I think about you constantly." And Luthen then asks, "Why did you want to meet?" And Young tells him that there's a new supervisor rising, Dedra Miro, and she's focused on a suspect named Axis, whom she believes is building a rebel network. She started looking into the stolen naval equipment and is now trying to link it to Aldhani. And he continues saying there was an incident on Ferrix a few months ago, and she's been tearing that place apart. They're looking for a thief and the middleman, and Partagaz likes what she's doing. Luthen tells Lonnie this is good, and he should encourage her to continue. And when he says why, Luthen says she's wasting time. And Young asserts that Luthen had nothing to do with Aldhani, but Luthen tells him almost nothing. We were invited, but we declined. And they got lucky, but Luthen doesn't build on luck. Young then tells him that they've also captured a rebel pilot, and they know about the raid plan for Spellhouse. And if Anto Krieger's group follows through, the Empire will be waiting. But Luthen retorts, if he doesn't, the Empire will know something is amiss. And Young says, they'll be slaughtered. And Luthen says, it's just 50 men. And Young is worth more than that. And he says to Luthen, you have to warn them.
Yeah.
But Luthen says, to what end? Sacrificing Krieger would be the best way to ensure the ISB doesn't suspect a leak in security.
This feels like if the move in the ISB in the central office in the meeting room where Lonnie's like, just let them investigate. If that's the chess move, this feels like the counter move.
Yes. As cold as it sounds.
Yeah.
The elevator jolts to a stop and the doors slide open, revealing Luthen standing on a long catwalk. And he asks Young what you're really here for today. And Lonnie tells him, I can't do it anymore. Becoming a father has changed his perspective. Luthen says, you took a vow. And Lonnie tells them, I'm giving you Dedra. I warned you about Spellhouse and Ferrix. And that's me honoring my vow. We find out that Supervisor Young has been working his way up the ladder by himself for the past 6 years. But when Luthen asks, what is your plan? To bring me a basket of goodies as a parting gift? What would you tell the ISB? And he says, I would make it about my health and that my wife's family has an import business. But Luthen cuts him off saying it won't work. They can't spare you. And
he makes a great point, though.
He does.
I mean, there has to be some. I mean, you've ground your way out. Now you are not only are you in the ISB, you are a sector.
You're up there,
supervisor.
Yeah.
And suddenly you just want to walk away. I don't know. Do you think they'd let him?
Honestly, I don't know. I don't know what the
Yeah.
Empire's status on mental health well-being
I
is.
mean, like,
Probably not after Pord.
Yeah.
I mean,
You
superficially
know too
speaking,
much.
well, that's true. That's true. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
How would
I
you
know
debrief
in
a
our
guy like
military, it's like we have contracts and there are lengths of contracts, and contracts can be broken, but typically they come with, some penalties, which are usually, financial and others, but like,
Or when you go, you sign some sort of non-disclosure agreement,
well,
hold you to legal action should you break it.
I guess legal action. Yeah, we just hold you to a lifetime of
Servitude.
surveillance.
Yeah. Well, having said that, there's a moment here before he gets off the elevator when he's talking to him over the headpiece. They make a point of interference coming across the headpiece and him kind of like doing a little TK421 tap on it.
Fiddling with it. Yeah.
And then they continue the conversation. But it's at the moment when he spills the beans.
Oh,
And I'm wondering if
Is that Dedra tuning in?
is there
nobody's
anybody
listening
out there?
Yeah,
It's a spy thriller, right?
Yeah.
it is.
And it's a chess game, like you said. So how
yeah,
far ahead of each other are we constantly? And yeah, that one I just picked up that one. I went, oh, because it rhymes with the stanza that I my theory before that Dedra
That
like
she
went,
already knows.
That she's ahead
wait
of
a
him.
minute,
Yeah.
why are you suddenly so smart? I'm gonna go
Yeah.
check that out right now.
Good thought. But Luthen tells him, yeah, you've done it alone, but your career has profited greatly from the information fed to him by Luthen. Information that has cost him dearly. And in a veiled threat, he says, you love your daughter, and Krieger's men will be dying to make sure that she still has a father. Lonnie is trapped, and he takes no pleasure in saying it, but Supervisor Young is going nowhere. Young questions, do my sacrifices mean nothing to you? And Luthen replies that he thinks of him often, and he does. Young's investment in the rebellion is epic. The double life every day, the stress of it all. They need heroes, and here he is. But Young asks Luthen, sacrifices, what are yours? And he steps closer, and he starts laying it out. Calm, kindness, kinship, love. He's given up any chance for inner peace, and he's made his mind a sunless space. He shares his dreams with ghosts, and he wakes up every day to an equation he wrote 15 years prior with only one conclusion. He is damned for what he does. His anger, ego, and willingness to fight have all set him on a path to which there is no escape. He wanted to be a savior without contemplating the cost. And by the time he looked down, the ground was no longer under his feet. He's condemned to use the tool of his enemy to defeat them.
So can we pause on that for just a second?
Yeah.
15 years ago.
That's when he started planning.
Are you telling me that he wrote this, that he started his plan in 22 BBY?
So like the
middle of the Clone War, like around the time of Attack of the Clones?
Maybe.
Well, yeah. I mean, if maybe he smelled the what Palpatine was cooking. I don't mean completely in on it, or
was he close enough to know what was coming?
I don't know.
Like he could have been a Republic officer.
Sure,
easily known. He could have been there during Order 66 easily.
Here I am thinking to the other side of it. Maybe he's secretly he's a Confederate who's just chosen to live in the Republic, living amongst the enemy. We talked about Saw Gerrera and how polarizing he is and how he still views in his world it's still Republic separatist.
Yeah.
The way they dressed him in this black flowing cape here, the way they shot this scene, it doesn't really, even what he says, like it's got shades of Dooku.
It really does. Yeah.
I've sacrificed all the good things in my life. How do you top can't swim? Well, just wait 5 minutes. Crazy. I couldn't believe this speech. I was just like, oh wow. I mean, they've all been really, really good, but this episode highly quotable, but like so many big soliloquies by the players.
Yeah.
And they're so poignant too.
In more elevated tones now, he tells Young, I burned my decency for someone else's future, and I burned my life to make a sunrise I know I'll never see. The ego that started this fight will never have a mirror, an audience, or the light of gratitude. So what does he sacrifice? Everything. Young remains silent and calmly. Luthen tells him, you'll stay with me, Lonnie. I need all the heroes I can get. And then with the remote, he shuts the door on him and sends him back wherever.
That
Did you
whole
guys say the line with him?
that whole sentiment about forced to use the weapons of the enemy
Yeah.
to fight them. This whole speech really made me rethink the relationship between him and Clea. You know, that maybe it is just that there is no romantic thing that we thought might have been there, like, oh, a younger stepmom. Maybe it is just straight up the cause.
Both in as
Right,
far
yeah.
as it can go.
Yeah.
We jump back over to Narkina 5 and we find Cassian and Melshi running through the dark across a barren beach. Behind them, we see searchlights scouring the night, and we switch angles. And we see 3 moons lighting their way. And as they run on, we cut to black.
Crazy.
And
anybody got a list of systems with 3 or planets with 3 moons?
Funny thing, though, and I know we had talked about this yesterday, but if anywhere close to 5,000 inmates escape,
Oh, sure.
why is it only Cassian and Melshi?
Why is
on
it only
this
Cassian and
particular
Melshi?
spot?
I just figure that, you know, it's safe to assume that as soon as they hit land, they just split up to make it harder to recapture everybody. And we just happen to follow Cassian and Melshi because, well, that's
for sure. Why wouldn't
those
we?
are the guys we're gonna follow. Yeah.
That's Sergeant Melshi to you.
And you got to think something sort of like, you know, unfortunately, a percentage of those guys drowned. That's a lot of guys to be in the water. We don't know the distance they covered. We don't know what kind of creatures were in that water.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a story for another time. We could follow 2 groups of 2 guys out of that prison on Star Wars Adventures and have 30.
Oh my
40,
gosh!
50
Yeah.
different shows.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if Tony Gilroy said that they are the thing, the 6-spoked spine is part of season 2, it will be interesting to get there. And will we see any of the workforce recaptured now working on something else? You know, or we're back in the prison again.
Yeah, we have enough of those. We need these.
I like all the, and it could be just sort of the joke, like they're working on season 2, which is just more of the Empire. But the meme that's been going around, which is George Lucas has been tapped to direct a Rogue One sequel.
That's so good.
Every time I see it, I laugh.
Did anybody catch the theory that B2 is going to become K2?
I did not.
Which would mean a complete disregarding of that comic book.
Right.
At the same time, Lucasfilm has shown us that they're not above throwing stuff away.
No,
even in the new canon.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we when we go back to Legends novels, Lucas had already, like, he has to sign off on everything. There's a story group.
Yeah.
Lucas signs off on the idea. He might even give guidance. I think this would do this and this would do that. But he always said, I reserve the right to just go, I can change that at any moment I want.
Of course.
So just, you know, he'd always said that. Write what you want. I'll approve it or disapprove it because I like it or I don't like it. But I also reserve the right to just go, nah.
Exactly.
And, you know, and unfortunately, they've pretty much done that with the whole Ahsoka novel, which was great, by the way.
Yeah.
I just want to bring up one frame here again.
Yeah, sure.
I get that he's renowned for his world-known motion capture work, but damn, the acting coming out of him this episode, screen presence, the emotional range. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I liken this to what I understand about voice acting, and it's what Kevin Conroy, God rest, Kevin Conroy had said, in order to be a good voice actor, you must be a good actor.
Yeah.
And I mean, motion capture, or in this case, the elevated form of that, performance capture.
Right.
It rings true here as well.
Yeah. Very physical. Yeah.
One other parallel too, the one line from Luthen, I get up every day to build a sunrise that I know I'll never see.
Yeah.
That's Kino, this episode, he's helping them escape, knowing he can't go.
It's so tragic.
Yeah,
you know?
no, absolutely. They're the flip sides of the same coin. That's why one's white, one's black. It in terms of their dress, and it's also, you know, it's funny because he's reminding Lonnie he's a hero. You're a hero,
Yeah,
Lonnie.
yeah,
You're
yeah.
a hero, Lonnie. But he's here. He's a hero. Kino's a hero. That's the difference. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he's only asking this of himself. There's nobody asking this of him. He's, you know what I mean? He's getting all these men to safety just because.
Yep.
Yeah, awesome stuff. Powerful.
Yeah.
And how do you top something like that in the next 2 episodes? How do you?
That is a fantastic
we always
question.
are doing that. Like, and leave it because we already know there's going to be a season 2, and we already know how the story ultimately ends. So how do you up the ante on? And I haven't been disappointed yet. It's
nor
been
have I.
Great ride.
Think back to the first when we launched this review series, and we did those first 3 back to back.
Yeah.
And we all agreed, man, no wonder they gave us 3 at once, because I remember myself saying, if we had just had that first episode that week, I don't know if I'd have been like, I don't know if I'd have held on. It was just so like,
been in the same boat Hank was for WandaVision.
Yeah. Well, and a few other programs that they were like so slow a burn that it took a few times, you know. And once you get really chugging along, absolutely.
And now here we are.
They do have my loyalty. That's why I'll go to the theater and sleep through Black Panther 2. They have my loyalty. So, you know, they know that a certain amount. But it's nice when they surprise me like this and really engage me. And I'm super happy about it.
We've got 2 episodes left. This final arc, because Andor, taking a page from some of the animated stuff, has been doing its storytelling in multi-episode arcs, and it's been fantastic. I said I do think we are going to get a bit more of the whiz bang Star Wars. We still haven't seen that. Pardon me, that sequence with Luthen's Fandor, with what I assume is the Kyber powered weaponry going off. That Colin Cantwell Star Destroyer design that showed up in Solo. We haven't seen that yet. There's a lot of stuff that the marketing has shown us that we've only got 2 episodes left to get to it. And we still have some of those questions that we asked weeks ago.
Yeah, there's a lot of loose ends left to tie up.
Is Cassian going to continue looking for his sister?
Who?
Is that even a thing anymore?
Yeah.
Marva told him quit. Did it just take?
Is one of our principals going to flip? I don't think it's Dedramiro at this point. If anybody now, it might be maybe Cyril Karn, but even he's so freakishly weird. I don't think it's him either.
Yeah.
No, I think the perfect person to flip, because whether they were watching the chatter, assumedly, you know, our chatter had nothing to do with it, like the fan chatter, but everybody is kind of like, you know, that because we've had Hux and because we've had the Rebels, Callus, sorry.
Oh yeah, Callus, yeah.
Right. So it's almost like the Star Wars visual language now. It's almost like one of the bad guys is going to flip. Who's it going to be? And so it was nice for it to be a character that just completely out of left field, innocuous, but it does mean so much because he's been periphery the entire show in terms of the bad guys. So
we have those loose ends with what I consider to be loose ends with Perrin and Lita.
Yeah.
Because we have to have that catalyst that forces Mon Mothma to at least begin the process of exiting the Senate.
Yeah.
Right.
And now we've got this whole, the huge question I have is, what now? Because with Mon Mothma refuting Davos Skulden, she knows that her best shot at getting that money just walked out the door.
So
what
back
now?
to him, or
so
I can't see her doing that.
Maybe Luthen's pissed now too at her. You know, I need you to secure this money. This is the deal.
Yeah.
I also, Bix is in the hands of the Empire.
She needs rescuing.
Marva
Marva's
looks like
health.
she might be health is failing. They made a point of just digging back into that for a second.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but some of the marketing materials that have turned up have shown what looks like some form of parade, speculatively possibly a funeral march, a funeral procession.
Right. B2 looks to be at the head
right
of it.
down the center. Yeah.
Yeah. So that would make a lot of sense, I guess.
Yeah, it does.
Tragic. And I mean, a good way to sort of lure Cassian home. My only question is it her failing health, or is that hard look from Cinta going to have something to do with it? There's a lot of loose ends
Another
left,
good
not a
question.
lot of time left. I feel like we're in for a breakneck finale, two-part finale is what they've said, and I'm really excited. I'm really, really excited about this show. Yeah.
As am I. So it'll be interesting to see if how interconnected these last two episodes are, because as much as the three prison episodes have been linked, there's been like a definitive beginning and a definitive end. I never once left an episode feeling like, oh crap, like I didn't feel like there was something left untold.
Yeah, right.
With it being as they say, these last two serving as one long finale, I kind of feel like
there's going to be a big.
Yeah, I feel at the end of this next one, I'm going to be like, oh, what?
I gotta wait a week. What do you mean?
Yeah,
I super feel that this is a very spiritual successor to what Lucas was doing, because it is truly episodic TV.
Yeah,
It truly, even though they're 3-part little, it truly is little bundles of Star Wars stories, which was always his intent, just to go, ever since he re-released the video and said, this is part 4, and which automatically makes you go, what happened first?
1, 2, and 3.
And I think that this really embraces those ideas, because TV hasn't been this good in a while. And there was a time where TV was, you look at The Sopranos, which is definitely that same sort of episodic stuff. Lost is a huge example, but one of my favorites until the end. And Breaking Bad, where you would get some non-linear stuff going, but definitely TV that doesn't dumb itself down for the viewer, because there's plenty of that,
not at all.
right? There is plenty of that where people don't need to turn it on to engage. And this is certainly one of those things where you got to be. The lights need to be on while you're watching this show.
We've talked about it. Well, we haven't talked about it in depth. No secret, I'm a bit of a Battlestar Galactica fan. And did you guys watch the rebooted series?
No.
When the reboot was on, when it was airing in first run, it was considered to be, by many critics, not just the best science fiction show on television. It was considered widely to be the best show on television during its first run, which is a huge deal for a sci-fi based property. And I want to ask, do we think that Andor has achieved a parallel in that, yes, it's a Star Wars show, but it's also, as we've been saying all along, it is that spy thriller. Do you need the built-in Star Wars audience for this show to be successful?
I would love to find that magical pony that's never seen Star Wars and sit them down for this show.
Yeah.
I don't know that you need to know about lightsabers or Death Stars or anything to know that Dedra Meero is one evil son of a gun.
Oh my gosh.
And I don't think you need to know. I mean, it might even be better. Imagine a world where you didn't know Cassian Andor was going to die. And
almost,
so the stakes are really up for him.
That's true. Yes, that's so true.
I said that before. They do a really good job of making the stakes so high and believable. Like when I watch a Bond film, I'm never worried. I'm never worried about a Bond film. Like they're boring because of that.
Yeah.
I don't want to make it about Bond. I could, but I don't want to.
Yeah, but like we know his final destination.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
You're still worrying.
We're still worried. Right. Exactly. There was no doubt in our mind that he was getting out of this prison, but the how was as compelling as the fact that there was as the fact, I guess.
Yeah. My gosh. I guess anything else we want to before we wrap up?
I got a goofy one for you.
Oh, sure.
Here's my final thought on the descriptive audio saying that they're
sure.
building spines.
Okay. Yeah,
For
yeah.
What is the only ship in the entire wide galaxy that would need a literal spine?
Oh,
an AT-AT.
Ship, you say?
I say ship.
A ship.
That needs a spine.
And this is completely wrong. I'm 100% wrong.
Well, you know,
on this.
so I if we use the real like naval parallel or maritime parallel, and we equate a spine being a ship's keel, I mean, conceivably you could say any capital ship would have a keel, would have a spine.
True.
But I don't know. I don't know where you're
There's
going.
one that would require a literal spine.
A literal spine.
And
okay.
that is Spaceball 1. Otherwise, it would not be able to transform into Mega Maid.
That's so true.
That's probably true. That's probably true.
But can it go to plaid?
I believe it can.
That's
gone from suck to blow.
Wow, that was a pretty heavy episode. Lots of emotional beats for me on this one. I'm kind of hoping that this week we do get some whiz bang. I've been kind of feeling I want a little bit more of that.
This was a bit faster paced than a couple
previous,
previous, but like it didn't feel rushed.
No, not at all.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Yeah, like
I had a friend watch it at work saying he was like disappointed by he thought that there would be more whiz bang in the escape, and I was just like, well, I mean, it's a bunch of guys with wrenches.
Versus, so true.
And no, you know, it's 5,000 diehards. There's no shoes involved here. Like, I thought it was perfect. Too much whiz bang would take away from the emotional impact.
I agree. I agree.
Yeah.
You know, is there? I'm hoping. I mean, they've found this incredible balance with the way that the writing has worked out so far, and I have no reason to think that they won't find the sweet spot between whiz bang and the intense drama that we've gotten so far.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's very like mouth watering for me. So really look
at the fan service too, right? Like you're not getting.
There's no fan service in their show. What are you talking about?
I know. There's not.
No.
But you're not getting bombarded with like spaceship battles and, you know, crazy stuff like that. So when it does hit, it's going to hit that much harder.
Mm-hmm.
That's true.
Like flying through that eye on Aldani.
Oh, yeah. Anyway, well, that's it for me. I don't know if you guys got anything else you want to
add. Stuff here too.
Okay, very good.
Yeah, no, perfect, man. That was great.
All right. Well, it's going to be back to business as usual this week.
Yeah.
My life has for the moment is kind of calmed down for a second, so I should be able to be back in the hot seat next week, or rather this coming week. And I know we'll have lots to talk about next week. So,
did Hank want to talk about the new Grogu thing?
Oh yeah. Did you want to talk about?
Watch it, but
so
you guys
neither have I.
Wow. So it's 3 minutes. I'm not going to spoil anything. But there's not really anything to spoil. It's just
I think if you just say, you know, who made it and who it's about.
Yeah,
that's a selling point
definitely.
Right there.
Yeah,
it's a selling point. So what I and Lauren had came to me a couple of days ago and she said, "Have you seen the new trailer, the new Star Wars trailer?" And I was like, "New Star Wars trailer? Are you talking about the Andor episode?" I don't know. And she showed me, and all it was Lucasfilm.
Yep.
And then it faded, and then it was Studio Ghibli.
Oh.
Now, you guys know who Studio Ghibli is, I assume. But for the people at home that don't know what Studio Ghibli is, they brought amazing Japanese animation, incredible stuff. One of my favorite all-time animated films, Princess Mononoke. Yeah. If you guys haven't seen that film, oh wow, it's amazing. Purchased by Disney a while back, maybe even before Star Wars, actually. There's all kinds of Ghibli information stuff going on. They just opened Studio Ghibli at Japan Disney or something like that. Lauren really wants to go, so maybe it's got something to do with that. But anyways, they released a short film, and when I flipped on the TV, having forgotten the trailer, there it was on the top of the Disney app, and it was Zen Grogu and the Dust Bunnies. And I thought,
it's going to be interesting.
Zen Grogu and the Dust Bunnies.
When you sent me that message, and I wrote back, Did I read that correctly? Did you just say
Right, that
Grogu?
is not a typo. That is not a typo. And it's exactly what you think it is. It's Grogu. It's hand animated. It's very simplistic line drawing, and he's meditating and interacting with dust bunnies for 3 minutes, and it's incredibly beautiful, and it's weirdly spiritual and poignant, even though it's not trying to be.
Okay, that's good.
It's pretty fantastic.
So there's a level of satisfaction there.
There really is.
Okay,
there
good.
really is. There's a level of beauty to it that could only be Japanese, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, listen, guys. I know I go through this all the time, and maybe you're kind of getting sick of hearing it, but I just want to let you know, Patreon has just announced and has begun rolling out, and I might be one of the last people to learn this because we are such a small channel. Patreon now allows you to upload exclusive video content directly. So as if you haven't heard this already, you're hearing it now, which means that your favorite YouTubers may move away from sending out those private links to their Patreon in favor of posting directly on Patreon. That being said, look for more exclusive content from us here at Fandom Power over at our Patreon. We just adjusted our levels. We've dropped everything down to make it as easily to make it an easy one to support. We know that there's people asking for money from you all the time, and we definitely have no expectation. However, if you like what we do and you want to help us out, because every dollar invested in the show is the internet bill for the month, or it is replacing the mouse or the keyboard or a camera, and I mean the list goes on and on and on. We are more than happy to continue bringing this type of entertainment to you as much as we can. And we want to do more. So,
and if you want us to go in a certain direction,
well, there is that too.
Yeah.
And we're always looking for guests to come on the show. So what a great way to make sure that you're going to get that guest spot than by becoming a top tier patron as an executive producer.
If the next 2,500 people all do $1, you can pay for the high quality that you see me in today. Literally pay that off for me.
All right. Sorry. That was just a shameless plug. And I apologize. I will try not to do that in the future.
Not at all. No. And we love all you guys so much, and we appreciate all the support that you give us, that the way you do give us. So these are just these are those opportunities that the platform allows us to and to have, and we'd love you to join us in that way, so you can actually become part of the family. We'd love it.
Absolutely. Lots more from us here at Fandom Power coming down the pipes. Andy's got a special project that's just about ready to drop.
Yep.
I've had a look at it. I'm kind of in it, so it looks really, really good, and I'm very excited to see that come out. So,
got one from Sean.
Another great show, guys. Sean, thank you so much. Again, and for those of you who are not following us on YouTube, if you're still a traditional audio podcast listener, thank you very much. And please send us your questions, send us your comments. If you've got thoughts about the show, if you've got thoughts about Star Wars or other pop culture properties that you want to see us talk about, hear us talk about, we're more than happy to do so. So, I'm not going to rant anymore. And I guess we'll just look forward to seeing everybody on the next one.
Yeah. So we got 2 left to go, and we will be back again next Sunday.
All right. As we always are. Until next time, guys, for Fandom Power, my name is Wes.
I'm Andrew.
And I'm Hank.
All right. We'll see you on the next one, guys. And a bye for now.